If America's railroad's main line and branch line track represent its arteries and veins, then surely the freight yard is its heart. The freight yard, the location where trains arrive and depart, where they are broken down and reassembled again to send freight cars to various locations across the nation, to serve steel mills, cement plants, general merchandise and manufacturing represented by these boxcars, the chemical industry, scrap steel in gondolas, again for the steel mill, and the oil and fuel industry represented by these tank cars. The grain industry is also served by rail, as are so many others in this great land, and all of that freight traffic originates from the freight yard. This is West Mill Yard in West Mill, New York, a joint Penn Central and Kingsport and Western operation. This is an important interchange and rail hub, made even more so by a rail barge operation that greatly increases traffic in the region. West Mill Yard has recently undergone a great expansion, and now yard tracks stretch well beyond the downtown West Mill area, greatly increasing capacity. At the other end of the yard, we see a train slowly being pushed towards the departure track. This train was assembled in West Mill Yard and is about to be handed over to the Kingsport and Western for a trip to Mayfield Yard in Mayfield, New York. As the cars for the train approach, we see 3 New York Central boxcars. These are empties that will go to Peerless Appliance and be loaded with kitchen appliances. Following that, a Penn Central boxcar is empty for Cavendish Foods. And the next 3 boxcars are Auto Parts boxcars for Acme Auto Parts, who will be filling an order for the Ford Motor Company. As the cars slow on the departure track, another train goes by from Selkirk to Kingsport. America depends on its rail traffic, and rail traffic depends on the freight yard. Well, let's turn off that old projector for a bit. Just having a little bit of fun there. Hope you liked it. I wanted to talk about the expansion of West Mill Yard. Here's what it used to look like, just a small yard with a siding and 2 spurs to support the car float operation. But I've always wanted a larger yard that I could use to make up trains for model railroad operations. My dilemma is that I really didn't have the room to create another peninsula to accommodate a new yard, and I didn't want to break into another room or anything like that. But then I had the idea of just expanding on the West Mill car float yard. So I took the car float off of the layout and started building a frame along the entire length of that side of the layout. And I'll show you some quickie scenes as this all developed. It was important to keep the car float as part of the operations. I really like that. Here's the point where track was getting ballasted, and then I worked on the waterfront scene. So now with the new tracks in place, the shortest one is over 8 feet long and the longest one reaches 10. So this has greatly increased my yard capacity. I can store about 50 to 60 cars there. But the beautiful thing is I can now use it to actually create trains and enhance model railroad operations. Well, let's take a look at some operations at West Mill. I use a few locomotives to work the yard, including this SW9 New York Central unit I recently bought at a train show sale. Another popular favorite is this PK2 SD9 that sports an Athearn shell.
Like I said, the car float operation is an important part of railing in West Mill. So here's some scenes of the car float being loaded. Car float is loaded. You might have noticed that I use an Alco RSD12 to load the car float. It's an Atlas unit that runs beautifully slowly for this action. And finally we have a Kingsport and Western freight that's arrived from Mayfield, and it's backing its cars into West Mill Yard. The power is a KP&W RS3. Here's a shot to give an idea of the length of the yard. Well, as the power is cut off the train, let's fire up the projector again and take a look at the end of that West Mill documentary.
West Mill Yard, located on the Hudson River, near the community of West Mill, is bound to increase the fortunes of this town. Businesses like Empire Grain, located right near the yard, and the fortunes of the Kingsport and Western and the Penn Central Railroad for many decades to come. This is West Mill.